welcome to another Ruby Inspire. I had to redo number 5. There was some problems with sounds and stuff and other things. Anyway, so are we doing it? I hope you guys are safe and let's get to it. 5. I want to get rid of it. Silence wrapped around them. Lance didn't realise he was trembling, his eyes wide and stinging. His breath caught in his throat. Lance blinked back the tears and gazed, searching for the eyes in the hallway. You... what? His voice broke. I want it gone, Lance, Keith groaned out. Lance could hear the anger and serious tone in Keith's voice. I want it out of me. I never asked for this. Lance's chest tightened, stomach twisting. I need to fight. I need to be out there. Not rotting away in here with this thing. The blue paladin jolted in shock. Through a few tears that slipped 3. Lance scrambled to his feet, sprinting to his face the door. Keith, you don't mean... Keith threw something, and Lance nearly flung himself into the other side of the hall. I want it gone. I want it out. Like you said, it's holding me back. He started to scream. Gone? Lance's voice cracked as he leaned on the door. Gone. Dead. Non-existent. No more. Lance felt the tightness in his chest grow with each word. It was getting harder and harder to breathe. And I don't care how. Keith slammed something against the door. Lance stumbled back, holding his arms almost up into feet. I just want it gone. The blue paladin shook his head. You really want them gone? Keith groaned loudly in return. Yes. Lance closed his eyes and tried to even out his breathing. Okay. He raised his head. Okay. Lance spoke louder. If you're sure. I'm damn sure. I want this thing out. Lance flinched, his breathing deeply, covering his eyes with both hands as he tilted his head back. All right, I'll do whatever I can, okay? I'll find something. I will. He couldn't seem to find it in himself to be able to stop the torment shaking down his cheeks, or the soft, nearly silent sobs that broke from his lips. Shiro stood up as Lance came scrambling into the training deck, practically dragging himself. Lance, Hunk muttered as the blue paladin stopped near him. Buddy, what's wrong? Lance raised his shoulders and forced a smile as he looked up at Shiro, who wants to get rid of the baby. Hunk, Pidge, and Alora all scrambled to their feet, eyes wide. Isn't it possible? Alora scrambled. We have no way of that in the castle. And it's wrong. He shouldn't get rid of the child. The blue paladin shook his head. That's what he wants, Alora. His gaze fell to the floor. He said he wants them gone. He doesn't care how, so long as they're gone. Pidge stepped closer to him. But is that what you want? It's what Keith wants, Lance muttered, rubbing his face. It doesn't matter what I want. If Keith wants them gone... Lance, what you want matters. Shiro reached forward, placing his hand on Lance's shoulder. Talk to him about it. I did. Lance gulped. I told him I'll find a way. Hunk stepped forward. Why? Why would you say that if you don't want that? Lance shrugged, looking up at his best friend. He was screaming. He was throwing things. I'm not going to make him go through everything if it really hurts him this badly. Alora came forward and gently embraced Lance. It'll be okay. Maybe we can convince him... No, don't. Lance tightened, returning the embrace. Don't do that. Please. Hunk bounced nervously on his heels, a plate of goo in his hands, his gaze on the red paladin store. He gulped, knocked. Keith? It's me. Hunk. I've got dinner. The yellow paladin waited for a moment, then slumbered in relief, as he heard the shifting of the door from the other side. Keith opened the door. Will you let me in? Hunk muttered. Keith looked up at him, then around, before stepping aside. Thank you. He handed the plate over to Keith and stepped aside. He licked his lips and locked his fingers together. Keith sat on the edge of the bed with the plate. What is it? Hunk breathed deeply. Lance told us. Keith raised a brow, taking a bite of the goo. He said you told him that you wanted to get rid of the baby. Keith frowned, then rolled his eyes. Great. Did he send you here to change my mind? No. He actually made Alora swear not to come and convince you. Lance just forgot to make the rest of us promise. Hunk muttered. With a wave of his hand and Keith, you really... I understand. I get it that you don't want to not be pregnant. Also, you're a fighter, and fighters don't stay here. The castle. Hunk looked down, throwing his... throwing his brow. He shook his head, looking back up. Keith, you need to talk to Lance about it. Hunk met Keith's gaze. They stared for a moment. Then Hunk began to feel nervous. He gulped. The red paladin sat the plate aside and stood. I did talk to him. He said he'll help. The bigger paladin groaned. Keith, he said you were screaming and yelling and throwing things. You were upset and angry, so he agreed to help get rid of the baby. He still agreed. You're not even thinking about its life, Hunk yelped, with a wave of a gesture to Keith's stomach. Keith looked down and back up. You're not thinking about how Lance feels. You're only thinking about how you feel. Keith narrowed his eyes. I feel that if I have this thing, I'm not going to be able to fight, and no one is going to be able to form Voltron. I'll die anyway. It'll die anyway in one of these battles. Think about how Lance will feel. He holds it one time and then the ship blows. Well, it's honoured, and he isn't. Hunk waved and looked away. There are things we can do about that, and that will take up too much time. We could be training or fighting for forming alliances. There's no time for this thing. That thing is Lance's baby. Both Hunk and Keith looked up to see Pidge, standing in the doorway, her arms crossed over her chest. She groaned at Keith. That baby is a life you and Lance created together. It might have been an accident, but they are a good damn gift. You want to destroy its life before it has a chance? Fine, that's your choice. But you really should talk more concerned to Lance rather than screaming and yelling at him until he's in tears and agrees. She sucked up a deep breath before continuing. Lance played a part in that baby's life, so let him have a part if you're going to take that life away. And what would you know? Keith sneered, stepping closer. The small paladin. You're the youngest. How would you know what it's like going through and something like this? What should I do? My aunt had an abortion, and it killed my uncle. Pidge raised his chin and scrubbed his shoulders. Her shoulders. He wanted to be a father so badly. She found out she was pregnant. She got rid of the baby. My uncle was disgusted. He couldn't be angry with her because he loved her. I never saw him smile again until he was in a hospital bed, dying, because he was just in an accident. You know what his last words were? Maybe I can meet my baby. She gulped, tears in her eyes. Is that how you and Lance are going to be? You're going to be happy and free while Lance is miserable because you are the only good thing that has happened to him out here. The only closest thing he now has to family is destroyed. Pidge potted and stormed away. The doors to Keith's room silently shut. Hunk raised his head and realised he was holding in a breath he didn't realise he was holding. He clenched his jaw and looked down, then back up at Keith. Keith, get out. The red pan stepped back and pointed to the door, his head low. I want you out. The yellow paladin lowered his head and then nodded. Lance leaned on the wall across from Keith's door, elbowed propped on his knee. He twisted an Altean object between his fingers with a soft sigh. Hunk and Pidge have been in a bad mood since yesterday. Well, no, not Hunk. He's just been down. Pidge is in a mood. She's snapping and keeping herself locked in her lab. Other than that, nothing new. I couldn't find anything on taking care of it. Lance bit his lip, then jolted as he realised that could be taking two desperate ways. Not as caring as them. I mean, I didn't see anything of making it go away. Lance's voice dropped as well as his gaze. He chuckled sadly. I don't even know if you're listening. Could I say anything that will get something out of you? Anything? The blue paladin waited a little while longer before nodding. I thought so. Nothing. Look. If someone said something to you, like they told you you did not, do you want to do, then don't listen. Don't think about it. If you want them gone, I'll help, okay? I will. Rubbing his face, Lance dropped the Altean object and let it roll. I'm sorry, Keith. I'm so sorry for doing this to you. I'll do anything to make it up. I'm not going to lie. I do want them. I want this baby, but... He breathed in deep, then smiled weakly. It's okay. We shouldn't have them. It's too dangerous, and you don't want them, so it's okay. Lance sat silently, and slumped in the hallway. He stared at the door, downsizing crawling through his body. Lance hummed softly as he began to nod off. I love you, he muttered before sleep finally took over him. Okay, that's the end of that part, so I hope you guys enjoy it, and hope it was clear. And again, I said this is part 5. Stay safe.